can't do it. Oh my god. Hello and welcome back to my tech wardrobe. My name is Caitlyn and today we're doing something slightly different. As the title of this video suggests, I want to talk about the fashion, or maybe lack thereof, in Camp Rock, the first one. Now I know what you're thinking, Caitlyn, why are you talking about the clothes in Camp Rock? This is a fashion channel. Why don't you just talk about the clothes in more iconic fashion movies like Clueless or even the Lizzie McGuire movie? I just wanted to talk about it today because no one ever talks about the clothes in Camp Rock that I'm aware of. Not that I've seen anyway. So I want to do it today and hopefully you will indulge me along this journey. I love this movie. I love how cringy it is. I love that other people think it's cringy too. I related very strongly to this movie, not because I could sing or had any musical talent whatsoever, and not because I ever went to camp as a kid or a teen, because I am generally an indoor kid and don't really like bugs or being outside that much, but because of the clothes. I just like the clothes. They were my basic AF type of style. I'm only going to talk about the first Camp Rock film in this video. Obviously was not a huge fan of the sequel because we all know the sequel had its interesting moments. Okay, I want to talk about 2007-2008 for a moment. The Jonas Brothers were just hitting their stride. They were on sort of the roller coaster up of selling out massive stadiums all over the world. Demi Lovato was a brand new presence on the scope of Disney Channel. I have a feeling that Disney Channel was really looking for its successor to High School Musical. How do we make High School Musical again, but different and better? Question mark? Spoiler alert, it was not better, but it was exciting. It was that very stereotypical early 2000s wasteland of fashion. Long shorts, frilly tank tops under otherwise unremarkable shirts. It was weird sunglasses. It was jewelry that was stacked like bracelets and necklaces for absolutely no reason whatsoever. It was colorful and it was a mess. But you know what? It was our mess. And I think part of the reason I like Camp Rock so much is because it reflected that mess very accurately on screen. And there are a couple of reasons for that I'll get into shortly. If for some reason you have lived under a rock your whole life and have never seen this film, the film centers on the story of Mitchie Torres, played by Demi Lovato, who is an aspiring singer. She's kind of shy, she doesn't have a lot of friends, but she really wants to go to Camp Rock. Her mom owns a catering company and surprise, surprise, she actually gets the catering contract for Camp Rock somehow at the end of June, even though the camp starts in July, but that's neither here nor there. And what do you know? The Jonas Brothers, aka Connect 3 in this film, are going to be there too because Shane Gray, played by Joe Jonas, is being a bit of a bad boy and being a little bit rude to people. So he gets sent to Camp Rock to teach some classes and spend the summer there to essentially shape himself up and just be a better person. And this is where our story unfolds. Camp Rock, a camp for talented musical teens. So you may not be aware of this, but Camp Rock was filmed in Halliburton and Minden, Ontario, Canada, which is not really that far from where I grew up. So I was obsessed with the fact that this movie was shot in Canada, and it's actually, to me anyway, as someone who grew up in basically that area of the country, this seems like a very Canadian movie to me. Let me explain. The costume designer Shelley Marshall, in an interview with 17 magazine way back when Camp Rock 2 came out. Oh hey, editing Caitlyn here. Now, I referred to the costume designer of Camp Rock 1 as Shelley Marshall for part of this video, and her last name is Shelley Mansell, so please excuse me on that. And I re-looked at that 17 magazine article and it was actually interviewing Mona May, who is the co-costume designer for Camp Rock 2. So leave it to me to make a shortcut in my brain and make a factual error. But here to tell you that Camp Rock 2 had 2 costume designers, but Shelley Mansell was still one of them. So I think this advice in that interview about the fast fashion and what I'll talk about shortly still stands. So something to keep in mind. Sort of explained her vision for the movies. And essentially she was very reliant on teen mall fashion of the time. So your Zara's, your Forever 21s, I think Free the People was in there too. There's just a few of these influences from fast fashion that she really drew on to create the sort of visual language of the film. Now for me, this is really funny because all of these characters are basically wearing items that I would have had access to in the early 2000s at the mall, wandering around every weekend with my friends. So for me, when I watch this film, I basically just see my friends and I. A lot of Disney Channel movies that I watched growing up, so your High School Musical, your Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, the movie, all of these films were very Disney Channel-esque. They looked big budget, they looked very American to me, and the clothing was a little bit inaccessible. So think of everything Sharpay wears in High School Musical. It just wasn't exactly what I could find or what my style was. But when you look at Camp Rock, I looked at this movie and I was basically like, oh yeah, I could wear that, or I have that, or I do wear that already. So for me, it was a very relatable movie, not just because they're at camp and they're probably naturally wearing clothing that's a little bit more casual, but for me, it was just it almost looked low budget, which I don't know, maybe it was. I just thought this movie was like outfit goals. Shelley Marshall, by the way, was also the costume designer for Darcy's Wildlife, if anyone remembers that show. It aired here in Canada on the Family Channel, and I think it aired in the US on NBC. So if you remember that show, it's a very similar type of vibe. It's Darcy, who's a teen, and she's a fish out of water in a small countryside town, and she's sort of dressed a little bit more fancy, and then everyone around her is very casual. So I can see sort of the influence from that show transferred onto Camp Rock, because if you look at something like what Darcy would wear, even though it's about 2 or 3 years apart, it's kind of similar to what Tess wore in this movie. If you look at the extras in this movie also, they are very clearly just kids from the general area that they recruited to be extras in this movie. And if you compare almost side by side the photos of the extras, it is basically identical to photos of me and my friends from this time period. So I look at those extras doing funny things and I just think like, yeah, that could have been me. I basically just want to talk about a few of these characters because I think the clothing merits some attention. Now, I don't know really that the clothing contributed to the cringe of this movie. The clothing was just very much of its time, like I said. So I think the best part though is to think about each character's signature look and how that contributes to the character overall. I'm going to talk about Mitchie, aka Demi Lovato, Tess, aka Megan Jent Martin, the mean girl, and Caitlyn, who is the sort of ex-best friend of Tess and also super talented musician. And then, like, as a bonus, I am going to talk about the Jonas Brothers, but just know that the Jonas Brothers are the Jonas Brothers. They didn't really, I mean, they changed their names for this movie, but they're just the Jonas Brothers. By the way, I straightened my hair for this today because Mitchie's hair is like very, very straightened in this movie, and that was the look back in the early 2000s. That's what everybody sort of broke out the straightener, and if you had beautiful, glossy, natural curls or waves, like, forget it. You just iron those out, baby. So Mitchie is supposed to be from sort of a middle-class family. You know, they couldn't afford to send her to Camp Rock, so her mom got the catering job so that she could help out in the kitchen and still afford to be at the camp. So Mitchie is really the embodiment of the every person in this movie. You're supposed to identify with her not because she ends up with the Jonas Brothers, spoiler alert, but also because of her actual clothing. These are clothes that you could readily buy in any mall that you walked into, and I usually did. Mitchie's big thing in this movie is just jeans and a color block top. She's got the very typical tank top under sort of empire waist tunic style shirt, and that was all the rage. I remember walking into an American Eagle and just thinking like, wow, gotta have that matching tank top and t-shirt. It was also really nice when the tank top like poked out of the v-neck you were wearing, but I don't think they really went for that in this movie, but it was a look, I'm telling you. Mitchie has these color blocked looks. Her more famous ones though are the burgundy tops with the tank top underneath and the fringe suede boots. I don't know why in particular they thought that suede and boots was good to embody, you know, the summertime at a camp. Suede, I have to say, is not a very durable fabric. It will rip and it will get really stained and dirty at camp. And also it's supposed to be hot, so why? I have to say though, I did own a pair of boots very similar to this, and also the pair of shorter, weird, folded over boots. I also had a couple of pairs of those because, as we all know, you just waltzed up to your local Payless shoe store and there they were. Mitchie's style does change a little bit over the course of the film, given that she is sort of trying to fit in at the camp and getting in the in crowd with Tess's group, along with Peggy and Ella, our supporting characters for Tess. She essentially changes her style a little bit to start to look kind of exactly the same as them. They show up at a little, what is it, like a sleepover party? I forget what this was called, but it's essentially just a jam session where they wear white shorts and green velour hoodies. And for some reason in that scene, everybody sort of makes fun of that and says, ooh, not just you're dressing like everyone else, but like,
oh, nice shorts and hoodies.
And I remember thinking at the time, like, is that hideous? Is that, well, I like that. Is that wrong? I just thought it was weird. Even now, I think like these aren't the most offensive outfits in this movie. So I don't know where people were coming from on that. I will talk about the worst outfit in this movie very shortly though, because it's in that same scene. There's also one scene where Mitchie's talking to her mom and she's like, oh, I gotta fit in with these cool girls. And Mitchie's mom's like, no, you just need to be yourself. What are you talking about? So she goes to her mom's dresser and she pulls out a top and she's like, I need something different. This. And they cut to the event that she's wearing it to, and it's just a very similar shirt to what she would normally wear, plus a big leather belt. So it's not even that different. I just think it's so funny because like the top has a little bit of sparkle in it, and like that's light years ahead of where she's already at in her own wardrobe journey. I mean, I do remember going through a bit of a sparkle phase, so I guess I kind of get it. Mitchie also has this very interesting striped green Henley with this macrame vest. We all had some version of this macrame vest. Mine was a weird crop top that I would overlay onto a tank top and shorts. I don't know if we were calling back to the 70s without even realizing it. I don't know if we just wanted to go fishing in our spare time and just like catch all the fish up in the macrame, but it was weird. It was a weird trend, I'm not gonna lie. I guess the only radically different Mitchie outfit, although it isn't really that different, is her iconic burgundy outfit at the final jam, where it is revealed that she is the songwriter that Shane Gray, aka Joe Jonas, has been looking for all along. Wow! It's got chains on it, it's got fluttery, like, rock star sleeves. I have to say, this is the outfit that I kind of just went, ooh, I gotta find me one of those. This was, I think, one of the instances where this movie gets sort of off basic script a little bit, because it is still a very basic outfit, but it's got chains and the sleeves and the matching, and I just thought, oh, now they're Disney Channel. This is unattainable. But so nice. And also, like, yeah, this movie is cringe, but if you don't get chills at this part, are you even human? Okay, next we need to talk about Tess. Tess, the stereotypical blonde mean girl. Now, she is pretty much dressed, I think in my notes, I said like verbatim, typical rich girl shit. And you know what? I'm gonna stand by that because I think that this is the type of outfitting that if you were wealthy, you wore. Now, there's a very slight difference here because I think the jewelry on Tess is slightly different. The embellishment on her clothing is slightly different. She's got more layers usually than everyone else, which is saying something for a Disney Channel film. I'm pretty sure that when they ask costume designers on Disney Channel movies, like, how many layers do you want on this actor? And they're just like, yes. But for Tess, she has a pretty simple MO. It's very specific gold jewelry, like her mom's Grammy charm bracelet. She's got a lot of sparkles, like you can see in this Too Cool number. She's essentially just an elevated version of everybody else's basic stuff. And it's still basic. Spoiler. The one outfit that I really remember from Tess in this movie is those sort of weird Bermuda short jeans with the embellishments, the gold top, and the sort of like red bomber jacket over top, the long necklace. For me, that was just the iconic Tess mean girl outfit because it's when she's like doing her biggest mean girl stuff. This was just, again, a very typical outfit that you would see in the early 2000s. I think depending on your income level, you would have like a fancier version of this jacket, or it would be from like Guess instead of Old Navy or Susie Shear, which I think is a Canadian thing, but you get what I mean. It's the difference between a slightly fancier mall store and a less fancy mall store or a department store. She's got the velour track pants with tank tops. It's not a Juicy Couture tracksuit, but it may well have been because this is the vibe that Tess is going for. Now, I know everyone probably expects me to talk about the sparkly dress and leggings combo from the Too Cool number, you know, the number that had us all dislocating our shoulders. Ah! Okay, clearly I am now too old to do this. That's so sad. Anyway, that's just a gold cowl neck sort of sheath dress. We've seen it before. But you know what? Putting leggings under a dress, I do remember, was like it back in the day. If you could have a tiny heel and leggings in a dress, like, ooh, you were cool. I never did that. So clearly I was never cool. But the one outfit I do want to talk about with Tess is what I consider the worst outfit in this entire film. All of these outfits from all of the characters were very clearly bought off the rack, purchased from any mall store ever for teens. So tell me how this weird tunic, flared paisley pajama outfit came from. Are you gonna tell me you bought that somewhere? This clearly looks custom made for this movie. Like, Tess is rich, we've got to get her. Obviously, she's got fancy pajamas, and she comes from a wealthy family, so these are like designer pajamas. But we're gonna have to make those because obviously, who makes designer pajamas for children? Well, I don't know, maybe someone did, but this outfit is so weird. It's so weird. She's got another, I think, long necklace. She's got these weird flared sleeves. She looks like she stepped out of like a grandmother's closet. She just went in her grandma's closet and was like, ah, yes, grandmama is very rich. I'll just take whatever her pajamas are. For someone who's obsessed with like being the cool girl and being the best and most talented and having this reputation, like, girl turns up to this sleepover party in a 1970s muumuu. I don't get it. I don't get it. To this day, this is the biggest mystery of that film for me. And I have done research to figure out, like, where this is from or why it exists, and I have found nothing. Nothing. So please, if you know what happened here, please tell me, because I am so confused. They're even mad. Like, even the girls are mad that Tess showed up not wearing the matching outfit that she said she was going to. So clearly she wanted to stand out from her backup dancers and singers, but like, this? And everyone made fun of the shorts and the hoodies. They're like, oh, good job, guys. Wow, nice outfit. And I'm just like, no one wants to talk about Tess's outfit in this? Nobody? Sorry. Whew, that was, it's been 13 years of confusion over this, so please, if anyone has answers, just Instagram, let me know, comments below, please tell me. I'm so confused. So next up is Caitlyn, which, by the way, amazing name, but obviously spelled wrong because we all know there is only one correct spelling of the name Caitlyn. If you are a Caitlyn and you are watching this, please know that if this is not the spelling of your name, I'm very sorry, but it is wrong. And I will accept no rebuttals. But anyway, Caitlyn spelled wrong is an interesting character because she's supposed to be this alternative person. She's sort of interested in producing music. Again, she's very talented.
She's really good.
She's kind of costumed in a way to just say that she's a bit more of a rebel in this scenario. She's very obviously the foil of Tess because Mitchie's sort of choosing between, you know, do I be friends with Caitlyn or be friends with Tess, and sort of that dynamic is very clear. So Caitlyn just has a lot of weird patterns. She's got a lot of neon belts. She has bracelets for days. In fact, everyone really in this movie has bracelets for days. I remember the big plastic cuff bracelets you'd get at like Claire's, and you just stack them all up so that you'd be like, you couldn't even move your arms. That was how many bracelets you should have. I think, to be honest, she stood out to me a lot in this movie because she is wearing different colors than everyone else. And this was sort of the alternative to the very, very, very basic fashion in this movie and in the malls at the time. I thought Caitlyn's style was like edgy. And I thought, ooh, I don't know if I could pull off that type of belt. Or, ooh, I don't know if that shirt with the guitars on them is for me. Caitlyn was a maverick, you know? She's the person in this movie to sort of act as Mitchie's conscience and be like, hey, don't follow what Tess is doing. I've been there. She's wrong. And that is sort of embodied a little bit in her style. So I kind of appreciate that little nuance in the film also. I can't actually not talk about the Jonas Brothers in this movie because they are the Jonas Brothers, or Connect 3. And I think it's important to note that, like I said earlier, the Jonas Brothers just dressed like the Jonas Brothers. Joe is constantly in the tightest pants known to humankind because that's just what he wore at the time. He had his long sort of rock star hair, he had his V-necks, and his tight ass pants. I'm pretty sure just let him wear whatever he wanted in this movie. He just turned up on set and there he was. So my personal favorite iconic outfit is, of course, the Final Jam outfit with the leather jacket and the stripes and the gray jeans. I thought those were pretty nice back in the day. Now I look at it and go, huh, yeah, that just looks like everyone else, but at the time, beautiful. Nick and Kevin are basically just guest stars in this movie because they originally wrote this movie for just somebody, and when Joe Jonas was attached to this film, they sort of wrote in characters for Nick and Kevin because they were the Jonas Brothers. That was their brand. But Nick is basically just wearing his very typical plaid shirt he always wore with jeans, and Kevin, we just need to talk about Kevin's scarf for a second. This scarf outshines everyone in that scene. I remember when Kevin used to straighten his hair and wear scarves a lot, and I look at it now and I'm just like, wow, I remember just wearing scarves as fashion. But they were fine. Like, they were fine. They were typical early 2000s sort of cool guy boys' clothes. I don't know what else to say. They're fine. I mean, also, I didn't talk about the hip-hop dance scene, but maybe if I ever have a commentary channel, I will talk about that scene because it is the most unbridled, hilarious scene I have ever seen, I think. in this film, and I enjoy it every time I watch it. All right, this video didn't really have a point, except I just wanted to talk about Camp Rock. So I hope you enjoyed it. It brings back so many nostalgic memories for me, and I really enjoy just watching it again because it is very cringy, it's very early 2000s, but it's really fun. It's kind of just a silly, fun romp. And as someone who grew up in the area where they filmed, I appreciated that I could see part of my life a little bit in this film. So it will always have a little tiny special sliver of my heart. My heart's over here, right? Is this left? Heart. This movie really brings me back to a time when I was kind of trying to figure out my own personal style for the first time, and I was shopping every weekend basically to sort of figure out what that would be. And I think this movie had a lot to do with how I approached fashion at the time. If you want to make this a regular series, if you have a particularly nostalgic movie that you love and that no one really talks about with regard to the costuming, let me know. Is it High School Musical? Is it High School Musical 2? Is it High School Musical 3? Is it the Lizzie McGuire movie? Is it something earlier than that? Let me know, because I have no problem doing another one of these because I love watching these movies back and picking out things that I never really noticed before, and some of them are wild. Don't forget to subscribe if you liked it, and if you didn't, subscribe anyway, because it might be different next time. Bye! Okay, the funniest moment in this movie for me is when they start that little food fight between Caitlyn and Mitchie and Tess, but like, look at their plates. Connie straight up served them plain noodles with like a bowl of vegetables in the middle. What meal is that? How did Connie's Catering get this contract? It doesn't make any sense. Where is the sauce? Where is the sauce, Connie? Where is the sauce?